Hello and welcome. Let's get started talking about filter. We have our const norm array. That's an array of numbers. An array element in there is number 1. Another array element is the number 4. And there are several other array elements in there. Now, we have an array of objects. So an array element in the array of objects is an entire object. So this would be an element, and this would be an element, and this would be an element of the platformers array. So let's use filter to start working on both of these. Now I'm going to make const big numbers equals, and that is going to be the norm array dot filter. And now I'm going to pass in EL, and that's going to mean element, and that's what we just spoke about. This is an element of the norm array. This is also an element, so each one of these are elements of the norm array. That's what I'm saying this is. This is a placeholder, by the way. You could change this to something else. If this just said E, it would work the same way. If it just said POL, it would work that way too. It doesn't matter what you use here. Let's do EL, because we've been calling it element. And we will now return elements that are greater than, let's say, 6. Now in big numbers, there should be a new array that is only the elements that are greater than 6, which is 7 and 8. Let's take a look and see if that is being console.logged for big numbers. That's it. So we were able to filter through that and just return the elements that are bigger than 6. There we are with 7 and 8. Now let's use a filter on our platformers array. So in order to filter our platformers array, we will take platformers array and put it here. And let's call it big platformer. So big platformer. So we'll take the platformers, we will filter for elements where the element dot size is greater than 6. So we have an element right here of the platformers array, and if we go element dot size, we'd have 7. So it should return Mario. It should not return this element because it's only 5, and it should not return this element because the size is only 4. Let's take a look at what got returned there. And we see we have Mario and size 7. So that worked perfectly to filter out this array as well. Now we could of course do this behavior in a separate function. So instead of doing it here, I'll just get rid of that. And we will do it in a different function. I'll call it filter big. And that will equal a function I'll take in. We'll just call it element. Again, you can name that anything. And I'm just calling it EL as I'm using that language to describe each piece of the array. So we have our filter big, and what we want to do is return element.size greater than, I think we did 5, right? Or did we do 6? Either way, we'll get the same thing because Luigi is 5, not greater than 5. So we'll get Mario back there as well. So now we'll just pass in filter big like so, and now what gets passed in is element, and the element is passed to our function, and we're returning elements.size that are greater than 5. So this should also just be Mario, and there is his size at 7. Now we could also do this with a for loop, so let's do that next. I'll just comment this out now. We'll do a different for loop. So let's make a let about taller than 6, and that will equal an empty array. Now I'm going to take it off of live mode so we don't have any issues while I make this for loop. Let I equal 0 while I is less than platformers dot length. We want I to go upward. So every time it goes through this, I will be added to by a value of 1. This is going to iterate it upwards every time. And then once it hits platformers.length, it will no longer run the for loop and exit this code here. All we'll need to say is a quick conditional. So if platformers at I, and remember what I is. It starts at 0 and it makes its way to actually 3, but 3 never gets passed in here because 3 doesn't satisfy this I is less than platformers.length. I will be actually equal to platformers.length, so 3 wouldn't come through. So what is 1 and what is 0, what is 1 and what is 2? At 0, we should have Mario. That is 0 indexed. All of these arrays are 0 indexed, meaning the first element is labeled 0. The second element is labeled 1. So at 0, we have Mario. At 1, we have Luigi. At 2, we have Peach. Let's head down. So if we have a platformer at I, that is either going to be Mario, Luigi, or Peach, starting with Mario. We'll say dot size greater than 6. And then after that, just taller than 6 dot push, and we will push it in there. So we'll say platformers at I will go into this array here. And we can console log this real quick. Let's make sure that this works. Taller than 6. And then I have to go back live. Okay, we should still have Mario. Yes, we have Mario. And just to prove that it's this function, let's do the opposite. Here we are with Luigi and Peach. They are smaller than 6. So that's how we do this several different ways. And let's just go through push one more time. I've explained this several times throughout videos, but when we're doing a push, whatever we put in here gets added to the end of this array. So if we were pushing the number 1 into here, like so, you'll see that we get the number 1 in the array twice because there are 2 elements in the array where their size is less than 6. So when we push, we do add to the array, and each time we add to the array, we add to the end of the array while using push. So we filtered 2 different ways, and we were able to also make this for loop that does filtering for us. I hope you enjoyed this one, and please follow me along to the next one. Let's learn a little bit more about JavaScript. See you there.